Welcome back to the Black Ledger. Tonight, we are not auditing gold. We are auditing power. The question is no longer, what is money? That is a distraction for the academics. The real question, the one that keeps the architects awake in their mahogany rooms, is what stands behind it. Close your eyes. I want you to feel the space you're in. Now, imagine your bank balance. That number on a screen. Clean, precise, instant. It's comforting, isn't it? It's the metric of your success, the digital certificate of your hours, your sweat, your life. But now, I want you to do something uncomfortable. Imagine the server goes dark tonight. A single line of code is deleted, or a switch in a windowless room is flipped. Ask yourself, in that sudden, absolute silence, what do you actually possess? For most of the modern world, the answer is a terrifying void. We have traded the heavy for the light. We have traded the immovable for the convenient. We have built an entire civilization on things that can be erased with a keystroke, on things that can vanish because they were never truly there to begin with. If you are hearing this, it's because you felt that cold draft under the door. You've sensed that the floor beneath you isn't as solid as they promised. Most people will listen to this and return to the comfort of the screen. They will choose the shadow because the weight is too much to carry. But for those of you who stay, for those of you who mark this moment by joining this audit, whether you acknowledge this ledger or keep it in your bookmarks for the nights when the truth feels inevitable, you are no longer just a participant. You are becoming a witness. This isn't about belief. It's about verification. Every reaction you leave here, every digital footprint you create to signal that you are watching, is a pulse in the darkness. It tells the system that someone is finally counting the bars. It tells the architects that the audit has begun. We have lived in the era of credit, a word that literally means belief. But belief is a fragile fuel. It requires constant management, constant propaganda, and constant distraction. When you hold a dollar or a digital representation of it, you aren't holding wealth. You are holding a promise that someone else will behave. But promises are not physics. They do not have a melting point. They cannot be stored in a vault for 1,000 years and remain unchanged. Tonight, we are moving past the promises. We are going to look at the mechanics of the Great Reset. The point where the belief runs out and the weight returns. We are going to find the hands that cast the shadows. And we are going to measure the strength of the cage they are building for the digital age. The air in here is getting thinner, but the clarity has never been sharper. If you are ready to see the floor beneath the floor, stay grounded. The audit of the final position starts now. Let us look at what is actually happening. Not what is being said in the glossy press releases of central banks. Not what is being whispered by the paid pundits on cable news. We are auditors. Our eyes do not follow the music. They follow the movement of the heavy furniture. Over the past decade, a quiet, seismic shift has been taking place. Large nations, the ones with the oldest memories and the longest horizons, have been changing their behavior. This isn't the frantic, panicked energy of a market crash. It is something far more dangerous. A cold, deliberate, and organized retreat. They are selling US government bonds. They are bleeding out their dollar reserves, month after month, year after year. To the casual observer, it looks like simple diversification. But look closer. This is a systematic liquidation of trust in the paper empire. Imagine the silence of a central bank's deep vault at 3 a.m. While the world sleeps, the ledgers are being rewritten. The assets that once defined global stability, the debt of the self-proclaimed king, are being quietly moved to the sell column. And what is filling that void? While they tell you to embrace the digital future, while they sell you the convenience of a cashless society and the efficiency of virtual assets, the architects themselves are loading cargo planes with physical bars. They aren't buying paper claims. They aren't buying exposure to a price. They are buying the heavy. The mechanics of this movement are unprecedented. We are seeing thousands of tons of gold being repatriated from the vaults of New York and London back to their home soils. Germany, Poland, Hungary, Turkey. One by one, they are asking for their atoms back. Why? Because in a world of rising geopolitical tension, a digital claim held in a foreign capital is not an asset. It is a hostage. They are moving the pieces off the board before the game changes forever. Listen to the sound of those engines. Imagine a heavy lift transport plane. its massive tires screaming as they touch down on a rainy runway in Shanghai, Moscow, or Singapore. In its belly lies the true weight of sovereignty. These aren't just investments. They are the ballast for the next world order. Because in an audit, we do not listen to words. Words are cheap. Words can be printed. Words can be retracted or fact-checked into oblivion. We follow weight, and the weight is moving. It is moving east. It is moving into the darkness of private, sovereign vaults. It is moving, quite literally, back to where it feels at home. The central banks of the East are not merely buying gold. They are constructing a new parallel system. When China increases its gold reserves for 18 consecutive months, it isn't trying to make a profit on a trade. It is signaling to the rest of the world that the era of the unbacked promise is over. They are preparing a floor that can survive the collapse of the Western paper ceiling. They are buying autonomy. They are buying the ability to say no to the digital consensus of the dollar-based world. Think about the irony. For 50 years, the world was taught that gold was a barbarous relic, a dead asset that pays no interest. They wanted you to believe that the only intelligent move was to hold their interest-bearing paper. And for a while, the math worked. But interest is only valuable if the principal is safe. Now, look at the flows. In the last few years, central bank gold buying has hit levels not seen in half a century. They aren't just hedging against inflation. They are hedging against the total failure of the rules. They are preparing for a world where the SWIFT system, the clearing houses, and the digital handshakes no longer function as they once did. They are building a physical floor beneath a crumbling digital ceiling. Every ounce of gold added to a sovereign vault is a vote of no confidence in the existing financial architecture. It is a silent admission that the current ledger is beyond repair. They are moving their wealth into a dimension that cannot be touched by sanctions, cannot be frozen by a court order, and cannot be devalued by a central bank's printing press. The architects know that you cannot simply turn off a global system. It would cause a level of chaos that even they cannot control. Instead, they perform what we call a physical hot swap. While the lights are still on in the old building, they are quietly moving the foundation stones to the new one. They encourage the masses to stay light, to stay in the realm of apps, subscriptions, and digital tokens. They want you to believe that physical possession is a burden, an unnecessary risk in a modern, streamlined world. But why do they want you to stay light? Because if everyone realized the importance of the weight, if everyone rushed for the same narrow exit, the cargo planes would never be able to take off. The supply of physical metal is a tiny fraction of the digital claims against it. If even 1% of the paper holders demanded their atoms, the system would snap. So, they keep you focused on the screen, on the fluctuating numbers, while the real value, the heavy value, is siphoned out of the system. Imagine the audacity. They tell you that your physical cash is obsolete, that your desire for tangible privacy is suspicious, while they themselves are hoarding the most tangible, most private asset in human history. It is a double standard of cosmic proportions. The exit is not a rumor. It is a fact reflected in the customs data, the shipping manifests, and the thinning vaults of the Western exchanges. The paper cathedral is being stripped of its gold leaf, and the metal is being sent to the foundations of a new temple. A temple where the rules of the game will be entirely different. In this coming world, the price of gold in dollars will become an irrelevant metric. The only metric that will matter is, do you have it, or do you have a claim on it? Because as the reset nears, the gap between the two will become an unbridgeable canyon. The claims will be settled in devalued paper, while the metal will remain in the hands of those who had the foresight to move. As we continue this session, I want you to hold on to that image of the cargo plane. Think of the sheer, unyielding density of those bars. They don't glow. They don't move. They don't scream for your attention. They simply are. The exit is an admission. It is the elite's final confession that the system they built for you is not the one they intend to keep for themselves. They are moving from the world of promises back to the world of facts. The air is cold on that runway, and the light is dim. But for the first time in a long time, the ledger is starting to reflect the truth. The weight is moving. And once it settles, the world will never look the same. Stay grounded. We are going deeper into the mechanics of the digital cage that follows the metal. Now, we ask the next question. If the old system, the system of paper, of messy physical cash, and of decentralized trust, is being reduced to rubble, what replaces it? The answer is already visible, flickering on the edges of our collective consciousness. Central bank digital currencies. Money that exists purely as a string of code. Instant, trackable, absolute. It is presented to you as the pinnacle of human progress, a seamless evolution toward a frictionless future. But we are auditors, and we know that in the history of power, convenience is the primary bait used in every terminal trap. Code has no weight. It is frictionless. It is ethereal. And because it has no physical presence, it is the ultimate cage. Think about the nature of this new medium. In the world of atoms, if you have a coin in your pocket, that coin is a silent witness to your sovereignty. It doesn't need a server to validate its existence. It doesn't ask for a password to prove its value. But money that exists only as code is a living, breathing set of conditions. It is programmable obedience. Imagine a world where your ability to feed your family is tied to a digital social contract that can be rewritten at midnight without your consent. Imagine your money refusing to pay for a flight because your carbon footprint has crossed an invisible line drawn by an algorithm. Imagine your savings, the stored energy of your past labor. Evaporating in real time because they haven't been spent fast enough to stimulate a failing economy. This is not science fiction. It is the logical, cold conclusion of a system where money is no longer an asset you own, but a permission you are granted by a centralized authority. But the architects know something they haven't put in the user agreement. They know that code alone cannot hold a world together. They remember the lessons written in the ashes of every failed fiat currency in human history. They know that trust in a flickering screen is a fragile, fleeting thing. So, while they prepare the digital cage for the masses, while they lecture you on the obsolescence of the physical world, they are building a secret, heavy foundation for the cage itself. The new system needs an anchor, one you aren't supposed to see, one that is never mentioned in the glossy brochures of the digital revolution. Gold. Not in your wallet, not in your safe, but in the deepest, most silent basements of the central banks. This is the true shift. A system where you see numbers dancing on a screen, but the actual power. The final settlement of reality is determined by the silent, yellow metal held in the darkness of the state's foundation. They are buying the heavy while selling you the light. They are unplugging the world from a server of infinite debt and plugging it into a hard drive of solid metal. And they are doing it while telling you, with a straight face, that the hard drive is a relic of a primitive past. It's not a return to the past. It's a high-tech feudalism. In the Middle Ages, the serfs traded in wooden tallies or base metals, while the lords held the gold and the land within the thick stone walls of the castle. The new digital system recreates this exact architecture, but with a degree of precision the old kings could only dream of. The central bank digital currency is the user interface. The colorful icons you click on, the convenient buttons you press on your phone. But the gold is the hardware. It is the physical server that runs the world. And the architects are making sure they own the hardware, while you are merely a tenant on their platform, subject to a digital lease that can be terminated with a single keystroke. Take a breath. The air in this room is getting thinner because the exit is getting narrower. Notice the asymmetry of the message. They tell you that physical possession is a risk, a burden, a sign of a criminal mind. They want you to stay light, to stay in the realm of apps, subscriptions, and virtual assets. Why? Because if you stay light, you are easy to move. You are easy to manage. You are easy to delete. If you own the metal, you own a piece of the hardware. You hold a fragment of the root of trust that exists outside their digital clouds. And to a system designed for total oversight. That is a bug that must be patched. If you own the code, you own a shadow. A digital representation of a value that can be disconnected from the body at any moment. Which one are you holding tonight? Which one will you be holding when the lights flicker and the database resets? The shift is almost complete. The cage is being wired with fiber optic precision. The anchor is being set in the deep, cold vaults of the East and West alike. As the belief runs out in the old world, as the credit and the faith dissolve like salt in the rain, the weight is settling into the new architecture. Don't look for the light on your phone. That light is a distraction. Listen for the sound of the vault door. Listen for the silence of the bars being stacked. One by one. Beneath the floor of the digital temple. The audit of the new system is no longer a warning. It is a live recording of a closing door. Stay grounded. The logic is unyielding. The metal is patient. The audit continues. This is where the system begins to separate. It is not a sudden explosion, but a cold, mechanical divergence. A silent carving of the financial glacier into the dark, frozen sea. We are witnessing the birth of a two-tiered reality, a bifurcation of the human experience that the architects have been preparing for generations. The first layer is the world of the majority. The people who hold numbers. They hold balances on a screen, accounts in banks, and promises written in digital ink. This is the layer of representations. It is clean, it is fast, and it is weightless. These people move through their lives in the flickering light of the monitor, feeling secure because the digits in their apps remain constant. But they are holding ghosts. They are holding the collective memory of a wealth that has already been siphoned out of the building through the back door of inflation and debt. The second layer belongs to those who refuse to be distracted by the screen. Those who hold the underlying assets. Physical, unremovable. Indifferent to the status of the electrical grid or the whim of a centralized database. This is the world of the heavy. It is the world of atoms, of density, and of final settlement. In this layer, value does not require a login. It does not require a high-speed connection. It only requires the laws of physics to remain in effect. In the past, these two layers were held close together by a social contract that was once considered unbreakable. A dollar was a claim. And for a long time, the claim was indistinguishable from the thing itself. But now, the layers are moving apart. The shadow is drifting away from the wall. The digital claim is losing its gravitational connection to the physical reality it supposedly represents. This is the great divorce. When a system resets, it does not erase value. That is a lie designed to make you feel like a victim of fate. No. Value is merely reassigned. It is moved from the ledger of the many to the vault of the few. It is the ultimate accounting trick. The promises are burned, but the assets remain. The fire only consumes the paper. It only tempers the gold. If you hold numbers on a screen, you are a creditor. You are waiting for a bankrupt system to keep its word. But if you hold the thing itself, if you hold the metal, the land, the atoms, you are an owner. One layer is built on the shifting sands of credit. A word that means belief. The other layer is built on the bedrock of settlement. The air is getting thinner because the split is becoming an unbridgeable canyon. The architects are making sure the bridge is dismantled before the crowd realizes the ground beneath them is no longer solid. We have reached the end of this audit. There is no alarm sounding in the streets. No sudden crash on the evening news. What we are experiencing is a shift. A quiet, terminal movement from light back to weight. From promises back to reality. When the system finally resets, nothing will appear to change on the surface. You will still wake up. You will still use your phone. You will still see your numbers flickering in their digital cages. But behind those numbers, the floor will have been replaced. The engine of the world will have been rewired to a different source of power. And you must understand the new mathematics of this age. Whoever controls the metal controls the math. Whoever holds the heavy defines the light. The ledger for tonight is closed. But your position within it remains open. As the lights fade in the west, we must prepare our eyes for a different kind of dawn. Tonight, we followed the movement of the furniture. Next time, we follow the direction of the tide. We will shift our focus to the rising mass of the East. Where the Shanghai price is challenging the paper contracts of the old world. We will audit the silent repatriation of sovereign atoms and the construction of a new anchor that does not rely on a digital consensus. The center of gravity is moving, and the audit of the new anchor is about to begin. Stay grounded and remember, when everything becomes digital, the only question that matters is, what still has weight? Good night.